Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Author Chat with Andrea. I'm your host, Andrea Rose Washington, and I'm the indie author of Adelathea, Elendil, Book 1 and 2, Amatry's Magic, and my favorite book journal. And today, I have the absolute amazing privilege to talk to one of my best friends of over 10 years, one of my major inspirations in life of total Black girl magic, Miss Morgan A. Whiteman. She is the writer and director of There is a Reaper, Mom, Fantasy Suspicion, and the upcoming shorts, The Miners and Apophenia. I hope I said that right. Welcome, Morgan, to the chat.
Hello. I'm excited to be here.
So Morgan, I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory for everyone who are listening. Morgan and I met in high school. We were in 10th grade. And I saw her, she saw me, and we're like, that chick is cool. And we have literally been friends since we were in high school. And we both had these very sort of different ideas of what we wanted to do in the future. And I find it very interesting that we both went to like the creative arts of, you did writing and film, and I just did writing for books. And writing and film you did. And I am just so like amazed of everything that this woman has done. And I'm so very excited to call her my friend. And I'm just so happy she's here today.
Oh, thank you.
So for the people who are listening, who may not be familiar with your work, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So like Andrea said, my name is Morgan. I'm currently an LA-based director and writer. I mainly do genre work. So it's like science fiction, thrillers, psychological thrillers, things like that. And a little bit of horror. In short films, I have a few features that I've written, and then also like limited series and things like that. So I guess the best way to describe it is kind of like Black Mirror and I guess early Jordan Peele, or I would say more like M. Night Shyamalan for sure. It's like kind of where my stuff is at.
And I have to say her stuff is amazing. And not just because I'm her friend, but because I've actually watched it. I was like, oh, okay. She knows what she's doing. This is amazing. Am I slightly jealous? Who knows? We'll never see. We'll never tell. So, like I said in our little intro, we both have very different paths starting off. So when did you realize that film directing was like your passion, was a thing you're going to do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I realized it was my passion pretty early on. Like I always wanted to do film and directing when I was probably like in middle school, but I felt like, I don't know, it just seemed like you needed permission to be able to do those things and just like have someone give you that opportunity. And so at one point I was just like, I'm just gonna do it myself. And that's kind of how it happened. But prior to that, I had gone to school to be a speech pathologist. So I did that in undergrad and graduate school, mainly because my parents, they wanted me to have like a plan B career instead of trying to like go out in LA and become a filmmaker and like spend a lot of money and not make any money. So I did that I did speech therapy or I'm still kind of doing it for about like 10 years or so. But as soon as like I graduated from grad school for speech therapy, I like right after that, I went to New York Film Academy for like a month-long program, just like study everything I needed to know. And then from there, I was just making stuff all the time.
I will have to say, I was very shocked when one day you were like, oh, I'm in New York. Excuse me? Where did this come from? I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I like this. A little bit of hidden trivia for both of our lives. I starred in one of her short films. It will never see the light of day with me in it.
Who knows?
It was the film that made me realize how much work goes into making a movie. And I was like, oh, No, I'll stick to being the writer.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 pages and 8 hours. It was a long time.
It was a long day. It was fun. It was so much fun, but it was also a lot more work than I anticipated. I thought we'd be there for like 30 minutes and then we did that for the rest of
Wow.
the
Ooh,
night.
no.
And it was 8 hours for this. And I was just like, oh, no, this is not for me. I will stick to the writer's room. So, how do you, because I believe every filmmaker has their own approach, their own vision, their own like touch when it comes to a film. Because if you're watching, I feel like even if you don't know who directed the movie, if you watch the movie, you'll be able to tell, oh, okay, I know who directed this because it's exactly in their style. How do you approach a film to make it into your style?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of what I do, my ideas kind of come from like either dreams or just like random things that I see. But when I'm writing a story, especially, I tend to like start with the end of the story and then backtrack, and then we go to the beginning and then the end. So it's kind of like a circle. So that's, I think, the signature thing that I do like probably all the time. I guess it's not that it's kind of basic, I guess now. Um, so that's the main thing. And then I guess just a lot of my stuff is kind of in between genres. So things will feel kind of funny in a way that you want to laugh, but it's also like weird and uncomfortable. And there's like an underlying social message to it. So it's just like, it's a lot going on, which is like how my mind is. So there's just like a lot of stuff thrown into there.
I remember your film Mom, and that was I think the first film of yours that it really hit me. I was like, oh, this girl's gonna be amazing. Because that style, I wasn't expecting that from you. I wasn't expecting that vision. I was very shocked in a good way of how you told that story. And you did sort of start with the ending because like we see the film starts off with the main character speaking at the end of like, okay, well, this is this is where I'm at. And you don't really, as the audience, you don't understand like what is she talking about? How did she get here? And then you watch the video, and soon you watch the movie, you're just like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And I feel like sometimes that sort of way of explaining from the end to the beginning, sometimes in some shows is like, all right, dude, I know how it ended. I just tell me everything. But the way that you wrap everything together, the way that you just weave it all in together was really good. And I was just like, oh, okay, she's good. Like not she's my friend good. Like she's actually good at this. She has talent.
I try.
So with the stories that you have done, what made you decide to tell them? Because like sometimes people do it just because they are like, oh, I really like the script, or I really sometimes you just have to make a check. I know when I wrote because I wanted to have like certain characters in certain ways is how I envisioned the story. But what made you decide to tell the stories that you did?
I mean, a lot of the stuff I've been doing recently, I've been like aiming to tell stories in like the science fiction thriller realm with especially like Black female protagonists. So that's really been pushing a lot of my stuff forward, especially like the last two projects that I did. And really just having an underlying message, like I was saying about it, like the film that I'm going to be releasing soon is about like how technology is taking over all types of employment and even like creative stuff, because you would think, oh well, art's fine, writing's fine. It's like, no, AI is writing and like drawing too, so it's like taking over everything. And it's like, okay, well then what would humans do at that point? And yeah, just these like underlying like missions that I have for these projects. The one that I'm doing now, the series, is about a Black female serial killer, and I think that's the most I wouldn't say controversial, but most like daring thing that I've done so far. So I'm really excited about that, and like really like pushing boundaries and like going all the way.
So I think I saw that was supposed to be like a limited series.
Yeah.
How many episodes are you going for, if you can tell us?
5. Just 5 episodes.
Oh, I'm excited. I don't know. Serial killers sometimes, give me nightmares because like they're real,
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I always have to watch all of your stuff. So in this journey that you've taken so far, you've traveled a lot, and you've also gone overseas to Ghana. And I remember when you told me you were doing that, and I was just like, you keep moving away from me. I don't like trains. What is going on? What was that program like as a film director?
Yeah, so it was created by it's like a small nonprofit that was based in DC. Now they're kind of based in Georgia, where they were taking Black female filmmakers to Ghana to learn about the culture, but also to kind of mold the two industries, like the American film industry or independent film, and then in Ghana, their independent film, and kind of bring it together so that we can both learn from each other. And we ended up writing our scripts prior to going. We did our casting prior to going to Ghana, so all of that was kind of remote. We were able to meet people like virtually, and then we got there. We were there for 2 weeks, and we had, I think, like just 2 days to film, and the whole time we were just kind of like location scouting and also like learning about Ghana and all that stuff. But it was really cool because it was my first time going to Africa, and I thought it was just like an interesting program for like African American women to be able to go to Africa and have that experience. So I mean, for me, it was pretty life changing. And I ended up writing like a feature length script, not based on that experience, but kind of like inspired by it. And I'm planning to shoot that next year in Ghana. So I'm definitely planning to go back there and shoot.
Oh, see, like people
surprise
leaving me. So you did tell us a little bit about what you're currently working on, but is there anything for the future that you have like coming down the pipeline that you're like really excited for, or just like, okay, can it be that day already so I can start shooting?
I mean, I'm excited for everything that I know I'm doing and everything that has yet to come. So I'm definitely excited for the feature that I have that's set in Ghana, just because like I'm really confident in the script. It's been like a finalist in different like programs, so that's been pretty promising. I workshopped it a few times, and plus Ghana, their exchange rate, like every dollar in Ghana is like 13 cents in American money. So it's just like a $2 million film will end up being like $350,000 in American money. So it's a great way to like be able to shoot something for not millions of dollars and get good quality. So I'm really excited about that. And then just all the other features that I have. Yeah, I'm just excited about everything.
So I know nothing about film making, directing, anything like that. In my mind, you write a script and people show up on the day of and everything just happens. But apparently that's not true. So I know that now, to the beauty of like, behind the scenes stuff, like, oh, a lot of work goes into it that, as a consumer, you don't really think about. You're just like, okay, they're filming a movie, it's happening. So for someone who is like breaking into the industry or is thinking about going into film, what is like a standard practice for creating something visually? Because even though I understand what a script is and I understand what the table reads are, and I understand you have to like scout a location, but like, what do you really sort of, in a quickie now, because we're on it's a quick little chat, but what is something you would recommend to people, like how to fully understand if they don't have access to be able to do like a program that like sort of teaches everything? Because I know we're in the world of Google and YouTube, but as someone who's a indie director, what would you suggest?
I would suggest definitely trying to get on a set and work as a production assistant. So that's basically the person that it's like, I guess, at the bottom of the totem pole and kind of just does whatever people need to be done, whether it's like moving the trash or like making sure things are just good everywhere. And it depends on the project. If it's a small project, then you might end up doing a lot more stuff. Like you might randomly just become the camera assistant and, oh, look, now you're the production designer. But if you're on like a full set, then that'll help you see the hierarchy of the set. You can see a lot of like their documentation and see what all went into what you're now on set looking at today. So I think that's very, very helpful. I mean, because of course now people can just make anything on their phones,
Mm-hmm.
but going to seeing like what it's like on an actual production set will help reframe like the amount of time and money that goes into making a film.
Um, so you talked about the pricing of that is good advice. Thank you. Because I know there are some people who are like, I have no idea where to begin. But you talked about the pricing because this is another thing that I feel that people that stops people from moving forward, that causes them that anxiety of like, I can't do this. Because money makes the world go round. Everyone wants to get paid. No one wants to get paid in exposure. How have you been able to sort of find financing, or what would you recommend to people if they're trying to find financing for their films?
Yeah, I think step one in financing is, I guess, kind of circumventing the whole money thing and doing like favors for people so that they can like do working on their set for free so then they can work on your set for free. Just asking locations, asking restaurants, asking anybody with a company or business like that you need their resources if you can just have it for like free or cheap. Um, and that like just those two things will help significantly, especially if you ask for like discounts on equipment and stuff too. But then outside of that, there's always like crowdfunding, which is like I just did it and it's a lot of work. A lot of work, and you have to be very open with just like showing your face on screen and just
Mm-hmm.
asking for money and just being out there like 4 to 5 times a day. So that's yeah, that's I think that's the main way. It's definitely hard to find financing. There's of course like grants and stuff like that, but I think crowdfunding is I think the most like tangible way for people to get started and at least get some money to come in.
Well, that's also good advice as well because I know I I've had friends who tried to like turn their stuff into a film or a short or like a short movie, and it's just like, well, where do you find time? Like, where do you get the money to do all this? Because it costs a lot of money to sometimes make a film. Not
Yeah,
sometimes, to mostly make a film. And I don't think
yeah,
people realize that you can't just ask for a discount. Like, it's okay to ask. If they say no, then you have to do what they ask for.
yeah,
But I never
exactly.
really thought you could go to a business. I mean, I guess I'm not in this industry. So this is all good information for people to know. So has it been your experience to do like to help a friend out and then they help you out to ask businesses and everything like that? Has it been a good experience for you? Or has it been like a
Yeah,
no egg on your face?
yeah.
All right, fine. I'll just swallow that pride, pick up my face up, keep going.
No, I mean a lot of like the anxiety and swallowing of pride like that always happened before I even did anything. Like it was just like, but in the moment when I ask, um, even if people say no, then they'll keep me in mind for like future things. So it's not like a no, go away, I never want to see you again. But at least it opens the door to have a connection so that if you need something or if they need something, then you just have that bridge. And it's helpful too, especially if you're crowdfunding and like asking people for money specifically, then they can say, oh well, I don't have the money or I maybe don't want to give you money, but I can give you like this food or this equipment.
Mhm.
So it's like they don't have to give you cash, but they're giving you something that's either like equivalent of the money they were going to give or even more. So I think that's a good approach too. If you're asking for money and then people can say, okay, well, I won't give money, but I'll give this.
So one of the most common questions I get every single time I go to a convention is people always ask me which book of mine do I love the most, and I always tell them it's like asking which child you love the most. You can never answer the question. It's like impossible, even though I believe some parents do have an answer. It's a question that's not nice to answer. So I'm going to ask you that question. Out of everything that you've done so far, that's out for the world to see, what is your favorite?
My favorite would be the short film that I did, Mom, the one you were talking about earlier. I
Oh,
think that one is like the most reflective of like my style and the stories I want to tell, and like the visual aesthetic that I want to use as a director. So like that, yeah, that's hands down my favorite one.
so then I guess I'll go into my next question of if you wanted someone to watch something to understand who you were as a director, would it be Mom or would it be something else?
No, it'd be Mom for
It'd be
sure.
Mom.
Yeah.
That that was the first time I ever went to a casting call with you to like look at the different to see the actresses come
Oh
in.
yeah, that was fun.
That was a learning experience for me too, because I was like, well, where do you find the actors and where do you find, anything? And you just had it all figured out. And I'm just sitting here like, she knows what she's doing. Like, I'm
Just gotta
so
fake it till you make it.
it's very interesting seeing everyone come in and submit their auditions. And it's like, wow, these people are actors and you're a director. Like, this is not just fun. This is not for fun. This is for real.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know, like, so I'm an indie author and I probably will stay an indie author because I like having that full control over my work. And you would consider yourself an indie director, correct?
Yeah.
Is that something you want to stay or would you like to go more mainstream?
I definitely want to go more mainstream. Well, one, because you definitely get paid a lot more,
That's true.
and that'll be a way for me to like live and survive and stuff like that. And then from there, I can also use that money to then create my independent projects. So it's just a way for me to sustainably continue to write and direct the work that I want to tell.
So basically, I'm gonna have that day job to fund my dream, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But this time it'll be directing to fund more directing. So
Yes. It'll be okay, I'll direct your movie so I can pay to direct my movie.
yeah,
I like that thinking. I very much like
yeah.
that thinking. So you have done a lot of work. You have done a lot of movies. You've have had a lot of different titles on each movie. How do you really find the time to like time management your process of writing the script? Like, what is your process from start to finish? How do you time manage that out? Because I think people, I know myself, we always just see the big picture, but sometimes you got to break the
Hmm.
big picture down into smaller bites. How do you do that?
Yeah, I would say that I don't I don't do it very well. There is no time management at all. All the time just goes to just filmmaking. So like if I'm in a stage where it's like okay, or I usually have like goals for the year of what I want to have by the end of the year. Like if I want to have like a whole feature script, do I want to have directed such and such project? So from there I'll figure that out and then kind of map out what I'm gonna do. So like this month is like the writing stage, and then this month is like the casting stage. And sometimes I procrastinate or like forget what the goal was, and so I end up having to like wait, like push it back a little bit. So it's just kind of very fluid. But that's what I like about filmmaking is because like it's not just like holding a camera, or it's not just like editing, it's not just writing. So I can do so many different things. So if I get bored with one part of it, I can do something else that feels completely different, but it's still moving the stories that I want to tell forward. But it's a never ending. I could work 24/7 and still not have anything done. So yeah.
That was not how I was expecting you to answer to finish that sentence. I was like, I thought you were definitely gonna say I can work 24/7 and just like never get tired. Was not expecting the ending. Is there anything that has come out recently that you wish you could have like done or like you take inspiration from? Is there like anything out there currently that sort of really inspires you as a director?
Yeah, so I watched what is it? Knock at the Cabin, the new M. Night Shyamalan movie. I watched that a couple days ago and it was so good. But I love all of his stuff and I've always loved all of his stuff and
Except for one movie. There's no way everyone likes that
I
one.
just I love him like as a creator. He's like my hero. So and it was just nice to see how solid of a film that was as far as like tension building and all that stuff. But I also saw Bones and All recently, which is like like a cannibal love story.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, it was really good and really creepy, but it was really really good. And then I love Top Gun too. I think that was one of my favorites of like all time. It was so good.
Maverick?
Yes, it was so good. It was perfect.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, it was
I'm very
perfect.
shocked by that. Like
Have you seen
personally,
it?
I'm very shocked by that.
Wow. No, it's
I've never seen Top Gun. I've never been interested in it. So I'm just
I've never seen Top Gun either. I saw
I
the
just
newest one.
nah. That would be a conversation after this is over because we can go. That conversation will not be live for people. So I think we have time for one more question. I do see there's someone watching. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. Or if you're just like creeping, that's cool as well. Um, I always like to ask this question because I firmly believe what works for one person doesn't always work for another person. So sometimes when I'm at conventions and people always ask me for advice for themselves, I always feel weird about giving it for the pure chance that you're not me and I'm not you. So I'm not like what works for me because of my temperament, because of I'm a natural introvert. So like I have to like psych myself up to do things. I do things a little bit differently for my comfort level. And if I tell an extrovert the way I do things, they'll just be like, this is boring. You don't even really do anything. So I like to say, what advice, instead of giving advice to someone else, what advice would you give your past self? Yourself starting out after they got their degree. What would you tell that person?
I guess it depends on which degree. But
Well, I'll say this: when you started your filmmaking process, when you finally decided I'm going to become a filmmaker, what advice would you give yourself?
um I guess to not doubt myself. I think that's the biggest thing is just especially like once you're in like your mid late 20s, 30s, so on and so forth, like you just have to kind of trust your experiences and intuition and know that you know yourself, you know what you want, and you just have to do it and not be
Mhm.
like influenced by anything or anybody else. So I think that's the big thing. Is just don't doubt, don't doubt yourself, and
That's
go 100% for yourself too. So it's like even if you don't doubt yourself, still don't like settle for anything. Like always go 100% for yourself.
that's really good advice. Because I think everyone starting out has that little case of imposter syndrome and has that case of I can't do this. Or why should I even try? And because God knows I doubted myself. Um, like my first 2 years of
Yeah,
actual writing were just like, no one can read this. Like,
that's crazy.
like
That's
you can't
crazy.
read this because you're gonna judge me, and I don't want judgment.
Hmm.
And learning that confidence within yourself, that's very good advice for someone starting out because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what type of personality they have. You just got to believe in yourself to get it done.
Hmm. Yep. Exactly.
Is there anything? Oh, I did have one other question. I do apologize. It just popped in my head. So this might be the last
Okay.
question.
Okay.
So I know you said you have the speech degree because I forgot the actual name of it. How do you incorporate that? Because I saw that you have put something out recently where you're now doing like a dialect and speech coaching for
Hmm.
films. How was that? How did that come back? How did you decide to like, I'm going to bridge these two worlds to make my parents proud?
Yeah. I mean, at first when I transitioned to film from speech, I was like, I'm never doing speech again. I'm just going to close that door. But then eventually I realized like I need money, so the door opened again.
Paycheck,
so
paycheck, paycheck.
yeah. But I knew that I like you said, I want to incorporate both, and I feel like actors have more opportunities to just act and get various roles and get less like typecasted when they're able to manipulate their voices and have different accents and sound like they're from different places. So I just want to empower actors, especially African American actors, to have those different dialects and accents so that they can be cast in whatever they want, regardless of how they look. So that's the goal behind it.
Well, that is an amazing goal because when I saw you posted it, I was like, yes, honey, just get it. I told you guys, she is like the personification of Black girl magic. She is my Ava DuVernay.
Oh, thank you.
Every time we do something, I go, I'm like, hey, mom, look what Morgan's doing. I know her. I knew her when. I knew her now. Was there anything else you wanted to share with everyone before we end our little chat?
I don't think so. I think we've covered everything.
Okay, well, everyone who stopped by the live, thank you for joining us. If you were not able to watch this live and see our amazing faces and you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, feel free to look up Morgan. I will put her information in the description. If you did watch this live on Twitch or if you're watching this on YouTube, her description will be in the below as well. Make sure you check out her work, her sizzle reel, everything she has coming up, because I am so very much proud to be able to say this girl is my friend because she is an amazing director, an amazing writer, cinematographer, whatever the titles may be for her in the future. I am just in awe of this woman, and I am so very thankful to be and proud to be able to say you are my friend. I love you, girl.
Thank you. I love you too.
We're such good friends that my brother still holds a grudge against her because something for having her.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's how I love, like she is my sister. I love her. So thank you guys, everyone, for listening. As always, I am Andrea, and Morgan, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope that you guys will catch us at the next time. And again, always follow us. We're on all the socials, and I'll put Morgan's information in the description. Have a good one. Bye.